is arranged by Wisdom Park. So we are thankful to the management of the Wisdom Park and the principal and the teachers who are very excellent, and they are giving the best to us. So now let us listen from Subiya Zainab ma'am on stress management techniques for teachers. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for the introduction. I hope everyone is able to hear me. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, a pleasant morning to all the participants of today's online webinar. Your presence here today, especially so since it happens to be a Saturday morning, means a lot to me. So, before I begin, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to OMIA team for providing me this platform to share my insights on the topic stress management techniques for teachers. I'm also thankful to Wisdom Park International School for this wonderful opportunity. So, as Sir said, I'm Subiya Zainab, and I'm a PGT teacher working in Wisdom Park International School. I'm also the head of the Department of English, and I have been working as an educator for the past 9 years. So, before we delve into the topic, I would like to hear from the teachers and educators who are a part of today's meeting if they undergo stress, if they experience stress. A few volunteers can speak up. Anyone? Okay, so let's look at some common stresses, certain common
Due
factors.
to heavy load work, due
Yes.
to cultural activities and academic going
Okay.
simultaneously.
Okay. Thank you so
Sometimes
much.
due to slow learners also, ma'am. They
Yes.
are not coming up.
Yes. The late bloomers in the class who
Yes,
need a
ma'am.
lot of attention, who
Sometimes due
need a
to the
lot
class
of time.
control also, ma'am. Very
Yes.
notorious
Classroom
case.
management is also very
Yes,
difficult.
ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much. So there are a lot of factors that can lead to stress in teachers. As ma'am pointed out, one is the heavy workload. So majority of the times teachers tend to have a heavy workload because we have classes to teach, we have assignments that need to be assessed, we also have exam papers waiting to be graded, we have events to organize. Like ma'am pointed out, there are so many cultural activities that we are involved in, and also there is a lot of paperwork that we are expected to do. So teachers can often be seen racing against time in order to get everything done. And the next point is classroom management. Classroom management can pose a lot of challenges because managing a classroom of 35 to 40 students in one go, in one shot, is no small feat. We have to get the attention of the students, and we have to make sure we are explaining everything in a lucid manner, in a simplified manner, so that the lesson reaches all the students in the classroom. And we also have to retain the attention of the students. All this has to be done while dealing with the troublemakers or the distracted students in the classroom. So all of these factors make classroom management a Herculean task, a very difficult task, leading to stress in teachers. Next, there are many administrative responsibilities that we're expected to take on, and this also requires a lot of follow up, and it can also be quite time consuming. For instance, if you happen to be the class teacher, right? There is so much, so many responsibilities that come with being a class teacher. And all of these works can actually take a lot of time and also cause stress at times. Then the expectations, the high expectations, the expectations these days are almost touching the skies. The kind of expectations that students have from teachers, the kind of expectations that parents have from the teachers, and the kind of expectations that the society as a whole has from the teachers. So these high expectations it can be very difficult for a teacher, sometimes to live up to all these expectations. So these are all the stressors, the factors, the elements that cause stress in teachers. Now, let's move on to the next slide. So teachers these days don many hats, several hats. They're trying to fulfill several responsibilities. They're trying to take up so many different roles. So they don many hats and often way too many hats. And this can cause stress. So our primary role is that of an instructor. So we are educators. Being educators, we are responsible for designing the lesson plans. We are expected to deliver quality academic content, and we have to make sure all the students understand the material. So this is our primary responsibility, the most important responsibility that we as educators have on our shoulders. In addition to this, there are other responsibilities also. Like we are expected to double up as mentors for the students. We are expected to play the role of counselors. If a student is struggling, if a student is facing any issue and needs emotional support and needs personal guidance, we have to keep providing these things also as and when required. And it is very important for us to keep motivating the students. We have to constantly keep, pushing them, keep telling them to broaden their horizons. We have to motivate them to explore their potential. Every now and then, we have to provide pep talk to the students. We have to keep giving these pep talks to the students in order to enhance their interest, in order to enhance their energy levels. So teachers also play the role of event coordinators. So be it any cultural activities, any anything else is happening in your campus, like sports day or Independence Day celebration or annual day, or even field trips or excursions. Teachers are involved in planning, teachers are involved in implementation, and teachers are also involved in supervision. So teachers often juggle multiple roles, multiple responsibilities, and each role brings with it its own set of challenges and its own set of demands. So all this, juggling can get um, a bit stressful at times. So let's now look at some of the strategies, some of the techniques that will help us to manage stress. Um, so before that, let me also go through this particular slide, which talks about the signs of teacher burnout. So what is burnout? Does anybody want to explain what teacher burnout is? Okay, so these are, some of the classic, some of the typical signs of teacher burnout. Burnout is nothing but when you're feeling overextended, when you are going through a lot of stress, and when that stress, when the stressors are not being addressed, when the stress is not being managed over a period of time, it can lead to teacher burnout. And these are some of the signs of teacher burnout. Number one is chronic fatigue. Fatigue is nothing but tiredness. If you are experiencing tiredness throughout.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is definitely a sign of teacher burnout, irritability. Like if you find yourself losing your temper at the drop of a hat, for every tiny little thing, you find yourself getting angry, you find yourself losing patience, then that is a sure sign of burnout. And if you feel, you lack any kind of motivation, you don't feel like showing up at school the next day, you don't feel like waking up in the morning, or you have trouble falling asleep, or if you have trouble uh, sleeping for so many hours, like without waking up in between, or having an undisturbed sleep schedule, if you're finding it difficult to manage, then that means it is a sign of burnout. So other signs include like if you're suffering from constant headaches, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you feel like I have way too much to do, I have more than what I can handle, then that is also a sign of burnout. Feeling depleted after work. So at the end of the day, we have to feel fulfilled, and we should not feel like all our energy, we have been drained of all our energy, right? So teaching, it is supposed to be a very fulfilling profession. So at the end of the day, we should feel satisfied and not feel drained out. And if you are experiencing, if your health is deteriorating, or if you're getting constant headaches, or if you're feeling overwhelmed at all times, or if you're going through a lot of frustration on a daily basis, I mean, once in a while, it is fine. It is okay. It is even normal to be frustrated, or but if it is happening over and over again, and if it is something that is happening over a period of time, then all these are classic symptoms of teacher burnout. So now let's look at the stress management techniques. Number one, Dan Millman said you don't have to control your thoughts, you just have to stop letting them control you. So the number one thing that I would like to talk about here is acceptance. First of all, we need to stop fighting against our feelings and just accept that they're there. Okay, I'm feeling angry, fine, and that is okay. I'm feeling upset. It is all right to feel upset once in a while. I cannot expect myself to be happy, all the 30 days of a month. So acceptance is very, very important. We need to accept the existence of our feelings. And but we should not let our feelings dictate what we do. Our feelings or emotions should not dictate our actions. So that is something that we have to take care of, because if you are feeling upset, you may want to take it out on somebody else. If you are angry, you may want to take it out on somebody else. This is what should not happen. You cannot let your feelings control your actions, but you should not suppress your feelings. You must not deny, live in denial, of what your body is trying to tell you either, because if you continue to suppress your feelings, it is only going to lead to an internal struggle. It is only going to result in anxiety. So accept your feelings. You just say that it is there, but you don't let that dictate your actions. And also, we need to acknowledge the fact that we cannot completely eliminate stress from our lives. Stress is a part and parcel of life. It is going to be there. Um, you, you may be a teacher, so you are experiencing stress. But if you had been in some other profession, let's say you had been a doctor, let's say you had been an IT professional, let's say you had been something else, you had been working as something else, even then you would have experienced stress. So we need to acknowledge the fact that stress is a part and parcel of life, and we cannot completely get rid of it. But what we can do is learn how to deal with stress, learn how to minimize our stress levels, learn how to manage our stress using certain techniques. So now let's look at some of the other techniques that would help us. Now, number one is time management technique. As teachers, managing our time efficiently, managing our time effectively is very, very important. So what I personally do is I carry a small notebook in my backpack. There are many applications, there are many apps these days, that you can install on your phones and make sure you don't let your productivity levels drop. But I personally use the old school technique where I carry a tiny notebook in my backpack. And before the start of the day, I try to jot down everything that I'm required to accomplish by the end of that particular day. I just write down the date, 17th August 2024. I write it down. And I also create a list of the things that I'm expected to have completed by the end of the day. So this actually helps you. This can be immensely beneficial. This can, in fact, be a huge game changer if you do it with conviction. So every time I complete a task, I try to cut it off my list. So this really helps. This helps me, stay organized. This also sort of eases the my mental burden. So instead of having to remember everything that I have to do, which can actually cause a lot of pressure on my brain, I try to just put it down, and I don't have to remember it. So I just need to refer my notebook every now and then, and go once a task is completed, I can move on to the next task. Certain rare occasions, I even find myself, like, even after having completed a task, I try to jot it down and I try to cut it off my list, just to experience the sheer joy, that comes with completing a particular task successfully. Now, maintaining a daily schedule, having a to-do list is very, very important. Next is prioritizing tasks. So prioritizing is nothing but which task has to be done first and which task can wait. Right? Not everything you are required to complete on the same day. There are some things that are very important and have to be done as soon as possible. But there are some others that can wait. Maybe you can do it maybe in the next 2 days, or maybe you can try to complete it by the end of that particular week. So prioritizing is very important. Which task has to be done first, which task can be done a bit later. So that is important. And another technique is time blocking. So what is time blocking? Time blocking is nothing but you set aside a certain slot for a particular activity. For instance, if I have a PTM coming in that particular week and I have to get the consolidated mark list ready. So I go through my daily timetable, and if I happen to have a leisure hour, let's say at 2 o'clock, between 2 and 3 o'clock, I have a leisure hour, or between 2 and 2:45, I happen to have a leisure hour. I set aside that time uh, to work on the consolidated mark sheet. That is called time blocking. You segregate your tasks and you set a particular slot for each task that has to be carried out. Next, another important thing, as basic as it may seem, but we often don't really follow it, is setting realistic goals. We have to be very realistic when we are setting goals. We have to take the time into consideration. We have to take the energy levels into consideration. We have to take the other factors also into consideration, that some unexpected task may come up. So keeping all these in mind, we have to plan, because if you create a realistic plan and if you follow it through, then you will feel content, you will feel happy. But if you create something very unrealistic and if you don't manage to get it done, then it may only add to your agitation, it may only add to your frustration. So it is very important to be very realistic when you are setting your goals. Another important thing that helps is delegating responsibilities. So instead of trying to get it done all by yourself, it's very important to reach out to your team members, assign tasks according to individual strengths, according to individual capacities, so that this not the work not only gets done, but you also come together as a team, as one single unit. So if you happen to be the academic coordinator, you should know how to delegate responsibilities to your team members. If you happen to be the head of the department, or if you happen to be some other event coordinator or something else, you should reach out to your team members and get everyone involved instead of taking it up all on your shoulders. So delegating tasks is very important. Next is taking breaks to recharge. Just like how when we students are sitting down to study, we often tell them to take breaks every now and then. The same is applicable for teachers as well. Just because we are adults doesn't mean we can function without any breaks. Every now and then we need to take breaks. We need to replenish our energy levels so that we can, come back to the tasks more energized and get it done, in carry it out in a much better manner than you would when you are feeling drained out. So these are some time management techniques which I believe would be helpful for managing your stress levels. Now, moving on to the next slide, mindfulness and relaxation. So, there was a time when multitasking was glorified, multitasking was, romanticized. But now, the word that is trending right now, these days, is mindfulness. So, what exactly is mindfulness? Mindfulness is just requires you to focus completely, to focus all your energies on one particular task at a time. So whatever work it is that I'm going, suppose, I'm creating lesson plans, I have to be completely immersed in this particular activity. I should not be thinking of the other tasks that are, waiting to be completed on my desk. Instead, I should focus all my energies on the lesson plans that I'm designing, so that I can do it with 100% concentration, 100% focus. Multitasking actually causes more harm than good. It is also not good for our brains. So instead of trying to do many things simultaneously in one go, it is better to be mindful, to completely immerse yourself in the experience of doing one particular task at a time. Next is deep breathing exercises. So deep breathing, taking deep breaths really help. And recently, I have also been practicing what is referred to as box breathing. So box breathing requires you to, you know, like if you are inhaling, you do it for a span of 4 seconds, and then you hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then you exhale, you let it all out, and then you do it again for a span of 4 seconds. So 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds of inhaling, 4 seconds of holding your breath, and 4 seconds of exhaling, and then again 4 seconds of holding your breath. So this has to be repeated in cycles. And box breathing is, scientific studies have shown that box breathing can be really helpful in managing stress. Next is uh, progressive muscle relaxation. So progressive muscle relaxation, this particular technique requires you to relax your muscle groups one at a time. So the key is to focus on one particular muscle group at a time. You can pick your right foot, you can pick your left foot, you can pick your fist, you can pick your shoulders. It could be any one of these. So what do you do? While inhaling, you should actually tense your muscles, and then you hold for a few seconds, and then while you are exhaling, you relax those muscles. So one particular muscle group at a time you can focus on, and this is also believed to be very rejuvenating, very relaxing, and can be very beneficial for fellow teachers. Moving on, now certain benefits of physical activity. So engaging in regular physical activities is very, very important. It not only helps us with our physical health, but it also helps us in our with our mental health and our overall emotional well-being as well, because any kind of physical activity brings down the stress hormone, the level of stress hormone cortisol in our body. It also enhances our mood, makes us more happy. Then it enhances our overall well-being. So certain simple activities such as walking, yoga, stretching, etc. can be carried out. Like you have to go from one block to another. That time you can like take a few seconds of break, and while walking you can try to take in the surroundings, appreciate the beauty of nature that you get to see around you. So these simple activities can actually have huge impacts. Simple stretching exercises also can be done to relax yourself. Moving on, healthy eating and hydration. So teachers are very busy individuals. So oftentimes, we get so engrossed, we get so involved, we get so caught up with the works that we are doing, that we completely tend to neglect what goes into our body, what food we are putting inside our bodies. But once in a while, if you're doing it, it is all right. But if you're doing it repeatedly, if you're doing it over a span of time, then definitely you need to look into your eating habits. So it is very important to eat balanced diet for meals. Make sure you are getting your required dose of protein, your required dose of, minerals, vitamins, even fats, instead of, just putting carbs inside your body. Then munching on healthy snacks is also very important. So I would suggest all the fellow teachers to carry a small box of snack with you, so that you don't end up reaching out to whatever you can get your hands on. Like instead of eating junk food, or instead of reaching out to a packet of chips or cookies or chocolates, it is so much better to munch on healthy snacks, such as nuts, cut fruits, cut vegetables, cucumber slices, and so on. Next, it is very important to have your meals and your snack at regular intervals. So if you're having your lunch at 1 o'clock, you make sure you eat your lunch at 1 o'clock every day. It shouldn't be like, 12 o'clock one day and 3 o'clock the next day, 3:30 the next day, as and when you can. That shouldn't be done, because it can have a devastating impact on your body. Then practice mindful eating. So mindfulness, we have already discussed. Mindfulness, I told you, is about being completely immersed in whatever work you take up. Now, how does mindfulness apply to eating? So you have a plate before you, you relish, the meal that is put in front of you. You relish the different textures, you relish the different tastes, you relish the different flavors. So you be completely immersed in this experience of relishing your meal, instead of worrying about the deadlines, or instead of worrying about your child's assignment, or instead of worry, nothing. You shouldn't think of your personal work or your professional work while you are eating your food. You have to be completely immersed in the experience of eating and relishing your meal. So that is what mindful eating refers to. And it is also very important to stay hydrated. Make sure you carry a bottle of water with you at all times, and you keep sipping from that bottle every now and then, because as teachers, we engage in a lot of talking. So staying hydrated is very, very important. And next is, we really need to cut down on caffeine and sugar. If you find yourself, if possible, you completely try to eliminate it from your diet. But if you are someone who cannot manage with your daily cup of tea or coffee, then you try to minimize it as much as possible. So caffeine, a lot of people think, they just by consuming so many cups of tea, they can, it is, they see of it, they think of it as a replacement for their sleep. If they have not had the required hours of sleep, they try to keep themselves alert, they try to keep themselves awake by consuming coffee, by consuming tea. This again shouldn't be done. You have to make sure you're getting your required 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day, and you're not using caffeine as a substitute for sleep. Now, moving on to the next slide, it is very important to have a good support network. So you're not alone and you're not in a battlefield. This is something we need to remember. Your workspace is it is a positive environment where there are people that you can rely on. There are people you can reach out to for any kind of help you require. You can connect with colleagues if you are feeling down, if you're feeling, dissatisfied, or if you're feeling frustrated. Definitely, you can have a word with your colleagues, who can also double up as your mentors and offer you guidance, offer you counseling, especially, the teachers who have been working for many years, the senior faculty members can be of immense help. You can have a word with them just by talking. You can bring down your stress levels. So we can also rely on our family for any kind of support we need. So you remember, you're not alone in this. You have so many people that you can rely on. You have so many people that you can count on. Next is professional development. So it is very important for us as educators to stay upgraded, to stay up to date with whatever is happening. We have to make sure we remain updated. So there are, these days it has become so much easier, to stay upgraded. So there are so many workshops, that keep taking place, so many seminars that keep taking place. And there are so many platforms that offer online courses. And like, for instance, this webinar, for instance, you can attend it from the comfort of your homes, and there is so much that you get to learn from fellow teachers. So it is very important to stay on top of your game, because when you stay on top of your game, you don't really have to worry much. You can, just by being on top of your games, you can minimize stress to such a great extent. Next, so healthy work life balance is very, very important. It is, I know it is, this is, so much easier said than done, because trying to strike a balance between work and personal life can be a very difficult task. uh, but with time and experience, you can certainly work on it. We need to set clear boundaries between work and personal life. And also we need to prioritize self-care. So self-care, whatever is required, to make yourself feel better about yourself. So self-care, as adults, we often feel guilty about taking time off for self-care, but because of all the conditioning that we have been through. But we need to understand that it is very important. Only when you are feeling happy, only when you are feeling satisfied, only when you are feeling fulfilled, can you uh, can you do justice to your role as a teacher, as a mother, as a father, whatever roles that you are playing. So it is important to take some time off, engage in hobbies that you find pleasurable. If you are someone who enjoys reading, you take some time off and read. And if you are someone who enjoys doing something else, you do that. So take at least, 45 minutes to an hour every day, and you use it as me time, where you do things that you like doing, where you do things that you enjoy doing. And as teachers, we spend our time in educational institutions, colleges, schools. These are bustling places. Something or the other is always happening. And these places, since they house, so many students, 1,500 to 2,000 students can also get very noisy at times. So it's very important to find a quiet place where you can listen to your thoughts, where you can listen to what your mind is trying to tell you, where you can listen to what your body is trying to tell you. This will also help in introspection. You identify where you're going wrong, or you identify where you need to get better. So listening to what your body is trying to tell you, listening to what your mind is trying to tell you, being in tune with your feelings and emotions is very, very important for overall well-being. Then avoid bringing work home if possible. This may not always be possible, but on days you can, you try to avoid taking your work home. Next, so creating a positive classroom environment. So it is, since as teachers we spend so much of our time in the classrooms, it is important to create a positive classroom environment where everyone feels respected, where everyone feels heard, all the students and the teacher also, where everyone feels understood. So we should also encourage student participation. Students should actively participate in all the discussions, in all the interactions, in all the activities that happen in the classroom. And we need to rely on positive reinforcement. So when you keep appreciating a child for a desired behavior, it will only encourage the child to repeat that behavior, creating a positive ambience in the class. Moving on, it is very important to embrace a balanced approach to teaching. So number one thing I would like to highlight here is focus on what truly matters. So there are some things that require more attention. There are some things that do not require as much attention. So we need to clearly distinguish between the two. And instead of fussing over every small little thing, every minor issue, it is better to look at the bigger picture. It is better to focus on what actually matters. Next, welcome constructive feedback. So being open to criticism, being open to constructive feedback is very, very important. So this can come from your heads, this can come from your leaders. Um, we really need to understand that nobody has anything personal against us. They're not trying to put us down. They're not trying to demotivate us, but they are just sharing their feedback. Being in their positions, it is their responsibility, it is their duty to provide feedback. And we should see these feedbacks as a room for growth. So you should see this as an opportunity for self-improvement, as an opportunity for personal development, as an opportunity for growth. And we should all approach, we should have an positive approach towards criticism, towards constructive feedback, and accept imperfections gracefully. So being human beings, sometimes we may make mistakes. I mean, we try as hard as possible, as much as possible, to avoid mistakes, and to we try hard to be perfect. But sometimes if you mess things up, and sometimes if you make any minor mistakes, that is also okay. You need to accept your mistake and just learn from that particular experience and not let that mistake repeat. Next is practice self-compassion. So we often talk about how being kind to others is important. Being kind to your own self is also equally important. Next, adopt a flexible approach. Don't be too rigid. If you happen to be a team lead, or if you happen to be the head of a particular group, you do not have to be too rigid. You do not have to be too rigid on others. You do not have to be too rigid on your own self either. Moving on. So if the stress levels, seem unmanageable, then you can even seek the help of a therapist or counselor or a psychologist, instead of ignoring the symptoms. Next, nurturing students starts with self fulfillment. So as I discussed earlier, only if your bucket is full will you be able to offer to the others. So it is very important to keep filling your bucket. Celebrate all your small victories. Pat yourself on the back even when nobody else is applauding, because you deserve it. It is important to take care of yourself. It is important to have a positive approach towards life, because whatever energies we take with us into the classroom, that sort of decides the ambience, that sort of decides the vibe of the entire classroom. So if you're going to be pessimistic, and if you're going to be cynical, you're taking those same energies into the classroom as well. Instead, having a positive mindset, adopting an optimistic approach, and when you are feeling happy, when you are feeling fulfilled, you would also be able to play the role of a teacher in an even better manner, and you would also be able to give your students a lot more when you are feeling happy and fulfilled than when you are feeling drained out. So, and these are students, learn from us. Young learners learn by seeing us. So when you are happy and fulfilled, they learn. When you are managing, when you know how to manage your stress levels, children also learn these things from us. So I would just like to conclude by saying that it is very important to recognize, the factors that are leading to stress and symptoms of burnout. You must not neglect symptoms of burnout, and you must not neglect the factors that are causing you stress either. And also, as I said, stress cannot be avoided, but it can be minimized, it can be managed. And how do we do it? By adopting effective stress management techniques. If required, we can even seek professional help. There is nothing wrong in approaching a therapist or a counselor. Then it is very important to prioritize our well-being for a successful teaching career, because when you are when you have a lot to give, then students also benefit. That is more like a win-win situation. You are feeling good, and you take those same energies into the classroom as well. So these are, some techniques that will help us to manage stress. Taking deep breaths, moving around often, spending time in nature, because nature is so soothing, so comforting, so relaxing. Making sure your sleep schedule is not messed up and you are catching up on your 8 hours of sleep every day. Then connecting with other members, okay, having a professional network to count on. Then eating well, minimizing your caffeine intake, and creating, to-do lists, and prioritizing tasks. All of these things will help you manage your stress levels. Thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. And if you have anything to share regarding the webinar, I would be really happy to hear from you. Thank you so much. Once again, I would like to thank OMIAT organizers for giving me this wonderful platform.
Thank you very much, Subiya, Zainab, ma'am. Very important points you have shared for all our teachers to remove their stress. All of our teachers are in stress only, and you are telling the four major source of stress: heavy workload. If 8 periods are there, all 8 periods are there for the teachers. No leisure, 1 or 2 periods also leisure is not given for teachers in some schools. So heavy workload. And after the school, they have to take tuition, they have to take coaching. So that is the source of stress. And classroom management, our students, both boys and girls, they are so, but they themselves are stressed, and so they are showing their stress in the class, and seeing them, we are in stress. So you have shared very important source of stress. And administrative responsibility, management doesn't know all these things. They only know 10% result, and how many have taken first class distinction. So they are more responsible, and whether pieces are coming or all are paying fees. So other responsibility also they used to give to the teacher. So lot of stress and high expectation from students, parents, and society. Then and there we are telling teachers, you are the noble profession. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. So we are stressful. So management, ma'am has given all the stress, and she has listed at the end also. So I need not repeat all the things. So what is needed is stress is there in noble profession also, in this profession teaching. And if you want to escape and want to go to other profession, then there will be stress more than that. Here less stress is there, but outside there will be more stress. So you have to, ma'am's final advice to us is, stress will be there. It cannot be removed. Only you have to control. Have exercises, have praise from others, have, celebrate yourself, do exercises, and all this breathing exercise, mindfulness, time blocking, progressive muscle relaxation, eating habit. Do all these things and be perfect to teach the student. That is the ma'am's advice to us. We are very thankful, ma'am, for taking so much pain to give us all these details. So with this, we are concluding this program.
Thank you so much,
We are
sir.
thankful. Yes, we are thankful to the audience also. Many are here. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, many principals are also here. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, if you are there, you can have a word. Then we will conclude.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I just thought I can add one point to what Madam said. It was very excellent. The session was very excellent. In fact, the academic year beginning, our school was planning a webinar like this or a seminar like this for our teachers. One thing probably I thought I can add to it is the teachers have to do it with a passion. Probably it will help them to manage the stress more. So
Yes,
any job,
definitely,
because
ma'am.
all the associated factors which Madam said, I think is going to be part and parcel of the teaching community. So anything that is done with a passion probably will help them to relieve their stress. That is what I felt when Madam was actually giving a webinar. It was excellent, ma'am. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you,
Actually, it
ma'am.
was very excellent, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am is the principal of a matriculation school. So this
Okay.
means your message has reached each and everyone. And no, next time they are going to the class, they will be much relaxed
I
than
really hope so,
earlier.
sir.
And that than earlier. So thank you very much. With this, the program ends. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah ma bihamdika, subhanallah ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.